Well, hello, everybody. This is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to another critique of the week. It's Friday, February 19th. Hope everybody's staying warm. It's a nice day up here in the mountains of Southern California. The sun's really out. The sky is really blue. Sorry to rub it in, but it is nice out there. It kind of feels like spring. All the ground squirrels are coming out. I don't know, they're kind of like our hedgehogs or something. But let's see. Who do we got here? Hello to Aaron Cloyd. Good to see you. Looks like it's working on Facebook and looks like it's working on YouTube. Looks like it's working on Periscope. So we are all good to go. Hope you're having a nice day. Patricia Rockwood, hello. Good to see you too. Okay. Paul Corbeil, good to see you. Okay, so we got a bunch of people here. And it's time for another critique of the week, of course. And as always, the goal of the critique of the week is to give people the opportunity to experience that workshop kind of feeling where you get to see what strangers feel about your poems. And get that feedback that you don't get from friends and family because they're not honest enough, and they know what you're talking about too. And so this is how to this is a way to feel how strangers react to your poems, and to give voice to your own opinions, so that you can understand them better yourself too. So everybody learns while we're doing this. Now we have two poems this week, both by Miss Thomas. And before we start, I should say, though, that next week we'll be doing a random drawing for the month of March's participants, because next week is the last Friday in this month. So if you, no matter where you're watching this, you'll see a link to Submittable in the show notes. And if you'd like to join in and participate yourself and have two of your poems critiqued live on one of these episodes, all you have to do is submit them through that Submittable link to Critique of the Week. And you'll be in the drawing. And there's about, I think, 85 or so people in there right now. But we'll get to everybody eventually. We do like 4 or 5 a month, of course. And you got to be in it to win it, though. So make sure you sign up. Also, make sure you click the like button, too, if you like this, because it's a lot of fun to do. But the computers don't know unless you click something. So click the like button. Okay, we got a nice crowd now. 20 people on live on Facebook, 10 on YouTube. And let's dive into this poem. The first one is Blue. Wait, let's do the other one. I try to do the one first that the poet put first. I don't know if there's a reason for that or not, but the first one we'll do is here. This is Rock Pools at the Beach. And they're both pretty short, so you get to definitely be able to talk a lot about both of these. Rock pools at the beach. The seaweed looks like your tangled brain, limp in a pool of tau and cerebrospinal sea. The waves' white noise passes overhead with today's mottled clouds of moment. No notice of the give and take of the tide with its anger and phlegm, calming to flat. The pool is balanced and disconnected, protected by foam and fluff of sea fog. We pick up shells, pebbles, and purses full of mermaids' coins. It's a good day. That's the short poem, Rock Pools at the Beach. Give myself a little more room here. Okay. So first of all, I like the Rock Pools at the Beach is a good title. It sets the place. So we kind of, all of a sudden, it's only, 5 words, but it gives a pretty good scene already. So we know where we are in the poem. That's always a good way to start. The seaweed looks like, but I should say too, that doesn't really, there's no like extra metaphors or anything that pops out based on the poem from that title. So it's a title that sets the place and serves that purpose, and it's a memorable enough title, but it doesn't really add anything either to the meaning of the poem. So it's sort of it's like an okay title. I guess I would put it that way. The seaweed looks like your tangled brain, limp in a pool of tau and cerebrospinal sea. So I like this starting off too. This is a good first line. It makes, it adds on to the scene we're already setting up, and it sets us into sort of what is going to come up. So we know we're talking to Yor. We don't know who the you is, but we're comparing the seaweed to the tangled brain, so we know something's going on in the brain that's tangled and limp. So we're sort of feeling the mood and the situation already pretty early on. In a pool of tau and cerebrospinal sea. Now, this phrase, the cerebrospinal sea, there's something feels off about this, and I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe somebody who's really good at grammar and parts of speech and things can tell me. But in a pool of tau. I think I'm saying that right. Tau. That's the kind of connective tissue in the brain, and cerebrospinal C. I guess the problem is I don't know how to describe it otherwise, but what we're saying here is a pool of C, which is a little strange. It's a strange way to say it. It's repeating like a pool and a sea are both bodies of water, and they're sort of different. So it kind of throws me off a little bit. So this word sea feels a little off to me. I mean, normally would say cerebrospinal fluid. It may be a tangle of tau. If you take out the pool, maybe you could do it different that way. But the pool of C just throws me off and seems kind of strange as a phrase. So maybe you could say, if we did, if we just usually it would be cerebrospinal fluid. That's normally how you would say that phrase, and you could do that because then it shifts it in a different way, so it separates them out. But together it just seems strange. A pool of tau. Yeah, so somehow we got to change that word, I think. The wave's white noise passes overhead with day's mottled clouds of moment. So the wave's white noise passes. I wondered why. So this poem, you're going to see it has some really great images that I really like a lot. And then a lot of the things feel off, like the sea feels a little off. And so this overhead, I like the wave's white noise, but then passing overhead, all of a sudden you're under the sea. And I'm a little confused about that. With today's mottled clouds of moment, and then the clouds of moment. So these are both sort of question marks. Actually, all three of these are question marks, right? So a little, like it feels like being pushed a little too far, trying a little too hard to be unusual instead of being clear. And so I'm not sure what, I like mottled clouds, but the of moment I'm having trouble following. And why the white noise is overhead. I mean, you would be underwater if it's over your head, unless you're like hanging upside down or something. I don't know. So those just throw me off a little bit. But I like the other parts of these two lines too. No notice of the give and take of the tide. I love that give and take of the tide. There's a very nice rhythm to that line. With its anger and phlegm calming to flat. I love the anger and phlegm too. Those are good descriptions. No notice of the give and take of the tide. So the no notice makes me wonder who's not noticing. Is it the you not noticing? I'm not sure. So maybe that could be phrased a little different. Back up to here, Ewing says it's the awkwardness of the cerebrospinal C. I think the sound is fine for this phrase. I actually like it. I like the sibilants, but it's just that it's just the pool to the sea. A pool of C is just a weird phrase, and that's what we're really saying without these modifiers in the middle. Let's see. Ewing says, but tide pools are filled with seawater that's been trapped like a tiny lake. Yeah, there's a way you could say it that doesn't jump off as strange to you, I think. Sherry Poff, I guess we'll just go through this, people's comments on this line, but Sherry Poff says, I think it's a pool of tau and a sea of cerebrospinal something. Yeah, that would do it better. If you just move the sea over here and it made it a sea of something, and then it would just, I mean, you want the images to pop into your brain really quickly so you're staying engaged in that imagistic way that's really powerful because we're imagistic creatures. And you don't want distractions that pull you out and make that image confused, you know? And so if we did that, a pool of tau and a sea of cerebrospinal something, that would work. So I think that's a good suggestion. Sherry Powell says the clouds of moment equals consequence. Yeah, I mean, I understand what moment means. But it's a weird phrase and it's very abstract. And so I'm not, I'm really reaching to try to untangle what that means. Back up at the top, Josh Williams says just remove pool of. So it would be the seaweed looks like your tangled brain, limp in tau and cerebrospinal. See, that would work totally too. It's just this pool and C are contradictory. Sharon Ferrante says a pool fluid is the sea. Yeah, that would work too. Let's see. So we're still debuting, I think. Oh no, this is it's the Stars Holiday Celebration. I'm not sure what that is. Interesting. But anyway, somebody's saying it's actually brilliant. I think they're talking about this clouds of moment. Modeled clouds of moment. I mean, if the whole poem was written like that, and everything was that abstract, and I mean, that becomes like a John Ashbery poem, or Wallace Stevens, that just had this super rich, dense kind of thing where every line is something that you have to kind of reach for to understand. Then it doesn't throw you out to have a phrase like clouds of moment. But in a poem where there are very few lines, I think that's the only line that really does that and isn't sort of trying to be clear. It just feels out of place too, to be that abstract. So that's what I'm trying to get at, I guess, with that line. It doesn't feel like it fits in this poem. Anyway, no notice of the give and take of the tide, with its anger and phlegm calming to flat. That's a really great description. I like that. The pool is balanced and disconnected, protected by foam and a fluff of sea fog. And I wonder, I mean, you repeat the sea again. And fluff of fog sounds better, so I was thinking maybe cutting the sea. We pick up shells, pebbles, and purses full of mermaids' coins. I think maybe full is an unnecessary word. Just purses of mermaid coins. You get to it quicker. It's a good day. And so it's a good day. It's a good, strong ending just to sort of suddenly we make sense of the poem, because somebody probably, I imagine, maybe this is if somebody who has some kind of brain injury, or maybe Alzheimer's, maybe it's a memory care center by the sea or something. And it kind of gets to the idea of this tangled brain being limp, the limp and tangled brain, but that we still get to do this and have this experience together makes it a good day. So I think, so that sort of, it's one of those endings that clicks home the meaning of the poem with this, it's a good day. And I think that works. So it's a good ending. So the poem in general, they're just these little things that I feel like are pushing too far to sound poetic. If you wanted to really pile on that stuff, you could keep going with things like clouds of moment. And it's the balance that is the issue, because the other lines are very, the pool's balanced and disconnected, protected by foam. So we're just getting this description of the sea that you're walking through, that the speaker is, with the person with the tangled brain. And, it's just sort of the retelling of a nice day. And I don't know, I think it works kind of on its own without pushing it too far. The modeled clouds of moment, that's really kind of the heart. The one criticism, if you sort of clean the poem up, the one criticism would be that it really doesn't do a whole lot. Like, it's a nice moment, and it sort of sets us up by not explaining exactly what's going on, and then concluding in a way that we know what's going on, or at least enough of it to know it, to understand. And but then you wonder, like, is that enough to make me think of this poem a year from now? Will I remember it? And one thing I might remember, actually, even though I've been talking about how it doesn't fit, is this clouds of moment line. Today's modeled clouds of moment. And it makes me wonder if maybe instead of turning this down to fit with the rest of the poem, like, turn up the abstraction in the metaphor. Make sure every line, not every line, but every couplet has something like that we really kind of have to stretch for to pull the meaning from. And keeping it imagistic like this is. The modeled clouds are something that you can see, but then pushing it a little farther. So I wonder if you could try to do that, like add a little bit of that to these other couplets that don't have them. And maybe that can be a way to pull the poem out and make it the kind of poem that you think of a long time in the future. Which is really one of the goals of poetry, I think, is to have something that's just, shapes on a page and that you still think of 20 years from now. And without stuff like this, it's hard to imagine like why you would, although it's a nice poem otherwise. So maybe turn up the dial and do more of this clouds of moment. Like, leave this. I know it's a question mark here, but leave it, but turn it up elsewhere. is what I'm thinking. So let's see. Deb Ewing says the third stanza is nothing less than brilliant. So Deb says the fourth stanza is quite possibly an extrapolation to the state of the humans in the poem. I think there's a terminal illness. Yeah, I mean, what I'm picturing is somebody walking with like a father or mother, and, you know, like on a little visit to like a memory care center or something where somebody, you know, doesn't have much time left. And for some reason, I'm drawn back to like childhood. There's something that makes me think of sort of the parallel between doing this when they were younger and sort of the roles being reversed almost. I don't know why I'm not sure exactly what gives me the sense of that, but that's what I was imagining. And let's see. Dr. Hassan Muhammad Al-Amrani says personification makes imagination vivid. Deb Ewing. Oh, maybe this is Deb Ewing. I'm what does this mean? Stars Holiday Celebration. Someone's name says that. It's a badge? I don't know. I don't understand. I'm confused. So that's someone that's saying that. Oh, wait, Deb Ewing. I'm sorry for everybody at home. I'm looking at the comments on Facebook. I guess it's Deb Ewing that says it above. Let's see. So Deb Ewing says, I think if you're a person who's used to using words like cerebrospinal, it isn't awkward. And one instance of you gives it intimacy. Yeah, that's the thing. Getting the you up here, that's a good thing to point out. The you in the first line lets it be an address to the person who you're talking to, which does add intimacy and make it more meaningful. Linda Hewitt says clouds of moment, a moment of clarity in a dementia patient. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. And so like I tried to say though, it's a very abstract way of putting it, which just doesn't fit with the rest. And I really think turning up that and finding ways to do that in other lines is the way to go here. Let's see. Maybe dementia element. Let's see. Deb Ewing says, I'm thinking maybe it's just not your style. Now that's a comment that, let's see. I'm not sure what Deb Ewing was referring to, but that comment, that something isn't someone's style, I think is a sort of a cop-out. And, it's easy to say that like it's all subjective and edits and improving the poem in certain ways or art in general just doesn't matter because it's all subjective and this just isn't your style. It's your style or not. And that's just not a helpful way to think about becoming a better writer. That's really a hindrance on becoming a better writer. You can like poems that are a certain style and have a preference, but that doesn't mean you can't recognize what's working and what isn't, So anyway, let's see. Sherry Pop says, tide pools are always full of surprises. There does seem to be some nostalgia going on. The tide pool is separate from the ocean, but contains elements of the sea. Yeah, it's a great image and metaphor. Let's see. And James Cecilla says, I don't need the specific problem. Each person can relate based on personal experience. Yeah, I think because of this and because what people are admiring about this poem is how clear we get the rock pools at the beach, and we imagine these people. And with the address to the person we're talking to, it's a very intimate kind of feel. And so that's sort of enough. Like we don't need, sometimes we'll say like the situation, the specifics of the situation are really important to understand in order to extract meaning out of the poem. And this isn't the case here because we get so much grounding with the scene. And we get the use. So we know it's a speaker talking to somebody and talking to somebody that they're sort of helping through a difficult time neurologically in some way. We don't know exactly what. And that's kind of all you need to know to get a feeling of meaning out of this poem. So I think that works. I think James Tasillo is right that that you don't need to know exactly what the situation is, just because we know enough of it. We know enough to relate. And it's a sort of a fine line between knowing enough to get some meaning and feeling out of it and being sort of kept in the dark. I don't think we're really kept in the dark here. So let's see. Debbie Bing says, it resonates very strongly with me from the perspective of a caregiver. Yeah, I mean, it's a poem. It fits in that way. I think it works. Let's see. Robin Delbo says, not sure if you need at the beach in the title. It becomes obvious. Yeah, I think, yeah, it could just be called Rock Pools. Rock Pools at the beach. I mean, you do get seaweed right away. I guess at the beach, you're right, is sort of extraneous and maybe is not necessary. I don't think it really detracts anything from it either, though. You could get more out of it, though. I mean, if you wanted to, like, I get a sense of nostalgia back to a childhood with this for some reason. Maybe just because I have kids and kids love tide pools so much, and it might just be that. But maybe, I mean, this is an opportunity, though, if you want to add on to that, like rock pools at the beach where we used to go or something. And so it's like a returning, if that's something you might want to do. Let's see. Robin Delabas has the importance and value in retaining some mystery in a poem. Yeah, mystery is important, but the mystery needs to be the kind of mystery is about the meaning and where to take it, and has to be a gap you can cross. And so I think, as I was saying, in this poem, it works because we know enough of the details to get something out of it. But in other poems, it's a really common, easy thing to do, to say, hey, I want to retain some mystery. And so I'm going to not tell you who the speaker is at all. And it's going to leave that, and then you can't connect or relate the people to each other. You can't like make a map of meaning out of the poem. And then it sort of means nothing. So it's a fine line to walk. But I think it works here. Let's take a look at the other poem now. It's been 20 minutes. I haven't gone over to YouTube. Let me go to YouTube first. I'm sorry. I forgot to flip over here. So Robin Delabo, I guess Robin jumped to Facebook because I wasn't paying attention to YouTube. Sorry, Robin. But over on YouTube, Robin said, I admire this poem. I think it's quite tight and lovely. And Sally D says, at the beach adds a sense of nostalgia. Yeah, that's a good point. So at the beach does, I got a lot of scribbles on this poem. At the beach does add to that nostalgia that I'm kind of picking up on. Because like you think of a day at the beach as a family kind of thing. I think maybe that is. So if it was just rock pools, you would probably not have the same sense of like a family outing, I think at the beach does add that. So good. Thanks for pointing that out, Sally. I think you're right. Okay, let's do the Blue Moon. Let's see. And I haven't looked at these poems ahead of time this time, so I have no idea what we're going to get here. Blue Moon. Dad watching MCFC, Greatest Goals DVD in the nursing home. Oh, there we go, nursing home. Blue Moon. You follow the players on the screen, light blue dots fuzzy against the pitch. City, the boys in blue will never give in. They scissor kick up the far side, fancy footwork, and they switch. City, the boys in blue will never give in. The goals keep coming. Chants, rattles, cheers, attackers sliding on their knees. City, the boys in blue will never give in. They keep possession, put 11 men behind the ball with clinical finishes. City, the boys in blue will never give in. I knew they would win in the end, you say. It's not over yet, I promise. Repressing play. So I love that ending, another great ending. And that kind of, assuming these are the same figures, it really makes the other poem make sense now, I think. I imagine it's the same dad at a nursing home with the child as the speaker. And, since we get this, we get to relive these highlights because the memory is gone, I assume, or fading. And so it's like watching all over again. And I think that ending really works. The little rhyme in there is nice too. I'm not sure maybe somebody in the comments can help me. I don't know what the significance of these lines are. City, the boys in blue will never give in. Is there usually boys in blue I think of as the police. I've heard that phrase used for police before. But what I'm thinking is maybe there's a city soccer team, and that's a thing, and they wear blue, and that's sort of like a phrase, like a motto for the sports team. So Manchester. So James Casilla says the city lines are mystery too, a chant for the team. That's what I was thinking. So Deb Ewing, I think this is Deb. I'm very confused about this, but Manchester City is opposed to Manchester United, football soccer reference. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense. That's kind of what I imagine. And this Manchester City Football Club, is that what that may be? That's probably what that stands for. I wonder. I don't know. I mean, do enough people get that reference, or are we just left out of the poem? That's something you have to wonder about. In the days, I usually think of, in the days of Google, if it's something you can look up, like everybody has their phone or the internet around them. If it's something you can search, then, a reference like that isn't a problem at all. But let me Google that and see what comes up. I'm just kind of curious. Like how do you, if you don't have somebody like Khaled Kem saying Man City soccer team wearing blue, if you don't have anybody here who knows what city the boys in blue mean, is there any way to find that out, or can you just not access that part of the poem? City, the boys in blue will never give in. Is this some kind of phrase that's used very often? So Manchester City, the boys, I think I have the same highlights, the same highlight clip maybe. Manchester City, boys in blue will never give in. Looks like a song, actually. Lyrics for Boys in Blue by Manchester City Football Club. City, Manchester City, where the lads playing to win. So that's a song. And I'm sure it's probably playing during the highlight video. So that kind of all makes sense. And I don't know, this is one of those things where I always wonder about, like, what do you think at home? Do you mind if to the people who got that reference, obviously it works and makes sense. But for everybody who didn't, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're not let into the poem? Like, do we need more of a hint as to what that is? So this is a song that's playing, I assume, through the highlight videos of the Manchester City Football Club scoring their goals in the highlight reel. The goals keep coming. City, the boys in blue will never get it. So this whole, that's why it's a refrain. Do you feel, I don't know, I mean, maybe there's a way to give us more of a hint? I mean, the epigram already tells us a lot. I don't know. I think maybe you don't need it. I think maybe this is enough. Maybe if we just say, instead of that, say Manchester City. And then we get the city word. And then without having to look anything up, I think that might be enough of a hint if we just write out Manchester City. And I don't think you need greatest goals, because we know what goals are. I mean, it could be a hockey goal or something, but then we see the patch of green, pretty quickly and realize it's soccer. I mean, football, I should say. So, but I think if we just spell out Manchester City, then we get the refrain. And now what does the refrain add? It's a nice condensed poem. We have, I wonder what Blue Moon means too, actually, the title. That seems like a reference to the soccer team too. So there's a lot of inside stuff. And again, I think similar to the last poem, there's enough of the situation that the inside stuff that we might not know feels more like an intimacy rather than like a mystery that's keeping us out and not letting us participate in the poem, which is the risk. And so we start again with a U, but we already know that it's Dad watching Manchester City, this DVD. So we already know the Blue Moon probably relates to Manchester City and the boys in blue. And then Blue Moon, of course, is a reference to the rare, once in a blue moon type thing. So this doesn't happen very often, I guess. Let's see. You follow the players on the screen, light blue dots fuzzy against the pitch. Just great description. We're really here. Then we get the refrain, which probably, if this was one of the last things you did with your dad, that would have a lot of really strong memory there. I think it works, and that's what I'm leaning toward. They scissor kick up the far side, fancy footwork, and they switch. The goals keep coming, chants, rattles, cheers, attackers sliding on their knees. They keep possession, put 11 men behind the ball with clinical finishes. Ironically, I think clinical may be a little too clinical of a word here. That one word I might maybe change. I don't know. It feels a little sterile for what it is. Finishing, scoring a goal. How exciting they're ripping their shirts off and slide in the grass because they're so excited. There's there's a phrase in sports you say that it's clinical precision, that the team's working together and things like that. But it feels a little too dull. Because finishes is already downtoned a little bit. So maybe a different word there. I knew they would win in the end. I don't know why. It should be two quotes, not single quotes. You say it's not over yet. I promise. Oh, here. Yeah, we need a period. Just get the punctuation right so no one trips over it. A comma there. It's not over yet, I promise. Repressing play. And there's that rhyme there. And maybe want kind of some rhymes in here. Maybe rattles, or maybe some near rhymes, because why not? Rhymes are great. But there is a way that a rhyme at the end sort of clicks it home. And repressing play, and that means so much, that reliving this video, like it toward the end of the father's life, that just watching this video means so much. And there's a hit of feeling there. It's a really nice condensed poem. I think I like it. Maybe the only thing I would do is make Manchester City here and spell it out instead of use the abbreviation. And then you understand what this is without sort of being as confused, without having to look it up, I think. I think I wouldn't need to look it up if I had Manchester City, because I didn't know what MFCF was. I was imagining it was some kind of football thing, but I didn't know what. And so if we know it's Manchester City, then we get through there. Let me see. Nate Jacob says repressing is similar to repression. That's interesting. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Clinical finishes makes excellent use of assonance. Yeah, it's just a little off, though. Textbook finishes. Clinical is really common in football. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Aaron Cloyd says clinical is a sports term. It is, yeah. But it's sort of there's so many sports cliches, and that's one of the things. It's sort of there's an emptiness to just saying clinical finishes. It doesn't evoke a lot, and it's something that you hear all the time. Noreen Ellis says the sound of both of these poems is really strong. I didn't know the specific reference for the refrain, but thought it was a chant or a song, and that fit with the musicality of the rest of the poem. Yeah, I agree. Good point, Noreen. Sean Hines says that worked for me, but maybe because I'm a sports fanatic. Let's see. Robin Delabaugh says the refrain works as both a team spirit cheer and the idea that the father will never gin again. I think give in. I think that's what that meant. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Sharon Fuentes is maybe a hint before the refrain starts. Yeah, I think this one works. I think all I would do is put the Manchester City in to make it make sense. Mark A. Grenier says the blue moon in the title could be short for once in a blue moon. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I assumed it has a reference to the Manchester City blue soccer team too. Let me see over on Facebook. So Sally D said it took me a while to catch on. It was a soccer game. I was totally lost by the MCFC and the Boys in Blue. Eventually I got the idea that it was some sort of chant. It took me away from the poem. Yeah, that's the thing. If you have to like work to decode what that is, it takes you out of the poem, and you want the poem to be engaging, and you don't want to be thrown out of it. But I think just and maybe write out Football Club too. You could write out all that. It doesn't matter if it's a little long, if it's on 2 lines. I think that it solves the only problem with the poem, which is just if you didn't know already this chant, then it takes a while to access it. But I think it works. Make sure the punctuation's consistent, because really the only thing, both of these poems, you don't want to, the sounds are really great, the images are really great. You just want to avoid throwing people out of the poem unnecessarily and making them sort of, because you want to get lost. Poems are only so many words, but you still get lost inside. You have that suspension of disbelief that takes you to another place. And anytime you're sort of lost in the place that it takes you to, you lose that sort of illusion. And so just cleaning up the things that throw you out. And one of the things that throw you out is not knowing what this is. Another thing is just, tripping over punctuation, which is not necessary. So, So I think these are 2 really good poems. I like them both. Blue Moon and Rock Pools at the Beach. Let me check for some last comments. Aaron Cloyd gives us a link. Let's see. Manchester City's Blue Moon, where did it all begin? So that's another reference. Oh, that is the name of the song, I guess. No, maybe that's a different song. Boys in Blue is different, I guess. But Manchester City's Blue Moon. Here, I'll put this up on screen so people can see too. Here. Manchester City's Blue Moon, where did it all begin? Where was a legendary blues song first heard? So there's I guess they actually put a blue moon up in the picture. You can see that. His football songs go. Manchester City's Blue Moon is now synonymous with the club and is every part of Manchester City Main Road and the unexplainable defending. So there's an article about this Blue Moon song. So there it goes. Okay, so that all makes sense. So I think the poem really adds up and works well. And there's really nothing else to say, I'd say. Let me keep checking for comments that I missed. Nate Jacobs says what it would be fitting if it were not a DVD but a video cassette, and in the end it requires rewinding. Yeah, I mean that might work too. Before being able to replay, perhaps I am too willing to fictionalize. Yeah, it could be. I don't mind fictionalizing. I don't think poems have to be technically true because they're talking about a deeper truth. I don't think the details matter as much, but other people disagree. Mark A. Grenier says, do the couplets do enough work to justify the words used? Do they contribute to the ending enough? Yeah, I think they do. I think actually this is a perfect length and a perfect setup for what it does. Because if we kept going and added more in these sections or had more sections, it would sort of go on too long. Like what we're really doing is this is a poem that's sort of I think somebody calls it a rope-a-dope poem, but it sort of lulls you into a space and sort of lets you, be distracted by what's going on. So you're watching this movie too, and then at the very end, like the rope-a-dope strategy, all of a sudden out of nowhere you're hit by the meaning of it, in which is that the father doesn't really remember all of this stuff, and that's where the emotional heart is. So it sort of lulls you. Or maybe it's a float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I don't know. I can't remember what people. Who was it that was using that? I don't know. But yeah. So it's a poem that lulls you to sleep and sort of gives you this sort of dreamy, like place that you're taken off to before it hits you with the meaning and the emotion of it at the end. And I think it's the perfect length for that setup for what it has. So I think this poem is just good to go. I think just explaining that out is all that's really necessary. Deb Ewing says about the fictionalized. Deb Ewing says, funny thing though, my mental image was pushing the cassette into the machine. Maybe we're just old. Yeah, I kind of imagined that too for some reason. That was sort of the image I had. Okay, well, I think that is it. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this critique of the week. It's been a lot of fun as always. Again, 2 poems by Miss Thomas. And next week we will do a drawing for the month of March's critique members, so make sure that you've signed up. And if you'd like to participate, that's how you do it. There's a link in the show notes. And you can submit 2 poems, and we'll let you know when you're chosen. Now, of course, we have the open mic show coming up on Rattle's live streaming. That is Sunday. Open mic for all news shows at noon Eastern time. And this week's guest on the Rattlecast on Tuesday is Derek Sheffield in his book Not for Luck. So check that out. And the prompt for the week is to write a poem about the road more traveled instead of the road less traveled by. We're going to write about the poem, a poem about the road more traveled. So that's this week's prompt for Rattlecast number 81. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you Sunday, maybe Tuesday. Hope you have a good one. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.